Alrighty, folks. Let's look at the interlopers. Remember, as we're reading this, we're looking for situational irony, the use of foreshadowing, and looking at the different types of conflict that are in the story. Okay, so the link is in the chat. I'm clicking on it. We ended with paragraph 4. They're stuck under a branch. Okay, so these two guys, they're members of families that have hated each other like forever, and they find each other in the woods. And before they can react to shoot each other, a tree branch falls down and pins them to the ground. So I'm going to pick it up on paragraph 5. This is what we've got right here. Okay. Relief at being alive and exasperation at his captive plight brought a strange melody of pious thank offerings and sharp curses to Ulrich's lips. The thing about this text is that you might also want to, if you're an English language learner, press the translate. You may also want to copy and paste some of these words like into Google Dictionary to define them. So he realizes he's alive and he's like, thank God, and then also curse, curse, curse. George, who was clearly, you know what? I feel like I'm saying his name wrong. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the Google thing too. Where's the button? I thought it tells you how to say his name. Oh.
Georg.
Georg?
Georg.
Well, that doesn't help. Georg? I'm just going to call him George then. Fine. Sorry. Georg. Georg. Georg, who was early blinded with the blood which trickled across his eyes, stopped his struggling for a moment to listen, and they then gave a short, snarling laugh. So you're not killed as you ought to be, but you're caught anyway, he cried. Caught fast. Oh, what a jest. Ulrich von Gradwitz snared in his stolen forest. There's real justice for you. And he laughed again, mockingly and savagely. I'm caught in my own forest land, retorted Ulrich. When my men come to release us, you will wish perhaps that you were in a better plight than caught poaching on a neighbor's land. Shame on you. Georg was silent for a moment, then he answered quietly, Are you sure that your men will find much to release? I have men too in the forest tonight, close behind me, and they will be here first and do the releasing. Then when they drag me out from under these cursed branches, it won't need much clumsiness on their part to roll the massive trunk right over the top of you. Your men will find you dead under a fallen beech tree. For form's sake, I shall send my condolences to your family. Oh, that's cold. That's cold. It is a useful hint, said Ulrich fiercely. My men have had orders to follow in 10 minutes' time, 7 of which must have gone by already, and when they get me out, I will remember the hint, only as you will have met your death poaching on my lands. I don't think I can decently send any message of condolence to your family. Ooh, double stab. So a message of condolence would be a sympathy card. So one of them's like, I'm going to have my men crush you with this tree that's on us. When they're freeing me, they're just going to go, whoopsies, and drop it on you. But don't worry, I'll send your family a sympathy card. And then the other guy's like, I'm just going to kill you when my men come here, and I'm not going to send you a sympathy card. Love it. Good, snarled Georg. Good. We fight this quarrel out to the death, you and I, and our foresters, with no cursed interlopers to come between us. Death and damnation to you, Ulrich von Gradwitz. Yeah. This is where I need to pause. The title So whenever you are like reading a story and you come across the title of the story in the text, you need to pay special attention to that. Yeah. So an interloper is a person in a place or involved in a situation where they're not wanted. So an interloper is someone who is like trespassing or who is just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. So what they're saying is, I can't wait until we fight this out to the death. You and me in this forest that our families have been fighting over for generations, and nobody is going to come between us. But I'm going to kill you, sir. And he says, the same to you, Geog, Zynum, forest thief, game snatcher. Both men spoke with the bitterness of possible defeat before them, for each knew that it might be long before his men would seek him out or find him, and it was a bare matter of chance which party would arrive first on the scene. Both had now given up the useless struggle to free themselves from the mass of wood that held them down. Ulrich limited his endeavors to an effort to bring his one partially free arm near enough to his outer coat pocket to draw out his wine flask. You know, because when you're going hunting in the woods, you gotta have your flask, right? Even when he had accomplished that operation, it was long before he could manage the unscrewing of the stopper or get any of the liquid down his throat. But what a heaven-sent drop it seemed. It was an open winter, and the little snow had fallen as yet, hence the captive suffered less from the cold than might have been the case at that season of the year. Nevertheless, the wine was warming and reviving to the wounded man, and he looked across with something like a throb of pity to where his enemy lay, just keeping the groans of pain and weariness from crossing his lips. So the guy pulls the flask out of his jacket and is like, this is great. But he's starting to feel sorry for his frenemy there. Could you reach this flask if I threw it over to you? Said Ulrich suddenly. There is good wine in it, and one may as well be comfortable as one can. Let us drink, even if tonight one of us dies. No, I can scarcely see anything. There is too much blood caked around my eyes, said Geog, and in any case, I don't drink wine with an enemy. Ulrich was silent for a few minutes and lay listening into the weary screeching of the wind. An idea was slowly forming and growing in his brain, an idea that gained strength every time that he looked across at the man who was fighting so grimly against pain and exhaustion. And the pain and languor that Ulrich himself was feeling, the old fierce hatred, seemed to be dying down. Neighbor, he said presently, do as you please if your men come first. It was a fair compact. But as for me, I've changed my mind. If my men are the first to come, you shall be the first to be helped, as though you are my guest. We have quarreled like devils all our lives over this stupid strip of forest, where the trees can't even stand upright in the breath of wind. Lying here tonight, I've come to think that we've been rather fools. There are better things in life than getting the better of a boundary dispute. Neighbor, if you will help me to bury the old quarrel, I will ask you to be my friend. What? This is a huge turnaround. So paragraphs 18 and 19, he's been doing some thinking in himself. He's been wrestling with his own brain. Why is he offering to be his friend? Is it because the only way he will survive and he hopes he'll help him? Because he does not want to win the feud unfairly? Because the situation puts their feud into perspective and he takes pity on his neighbor? Or because they realize he doesn't want the land anymore after his injury? Hi, Selena. Folks watching at home, you can drop your answer in the chat. I believe it's C. It is C. So he is starting to grow internally. This is a question that's going to come up on your assignment. Okay. I'm going to ask you what's going on in these two paragraphs. Okay, we're starting at paragraph 20. Georg Zainam was silent for so long that Ulrich thought perhaps he had fainted with the pain of his injuries. Then he spoke slowly and in jerks. How the whole world region would stare and gabble. Let's talk rapidly. If we rode into the market square together, no one living can remember seeing a Zainam and a von Gradwitz talking to one another in friendship, and what peace there would be among the forester folk if we ended our feud tonight. And if we chose to make peace among our people, there is none other to interfere, no interlopers from outside. You would come and keep the Sylvester night beneath my roof, and I would come and feast on some high day at your castle. I would never fire a shot on your land, save when you invited me as a guest. And you should come and shoot with me down in the marches where the wild fowl are. Okay, let's break apart what he's saying. So he's like imagining a brand new world, a whole new world of like friendships. So it's kind of like that moment in Step Brothers where they're like, did we just become best friends? Yup. And they're imagining this life again together. But Saki puts that word, that's our title in here, that there's no interlopers from outside. He's repeating the fact that he's like, no one should come between us as we fight this duel. And then he says, nobody should come between us as we repair this relationship that we have like really, really messed up. The fact that he is now repeating the line that is the title should be setting off some ding ding dings, okay? So let's pick this back up. In all the countryside, there are none that could hinder, if we willed to make peace. I never thought to have wanted to do other than to hate you all my life. But I think I've changed my mind about things too. This last half hour, and you offered me your wine flask, Ulrich von Gradwitz. I will be your friend. Aww. For a space, both men were silent, turning over in their minds the wonderful changes that this dramatic reconciliation would bring about. That means they got over their issues. They fixed them. In the cold, gloomy forest, with the winter tearing in fitful gusts through the naked branches and the whistling round the tree trunks, they lay and waited for the help that would now bring release and score assistance, aid, particularly in times of distress, to both parties. And each prayed a private prayer that his men might be the first to arrive, so that he might be the first to show honorable attention to the enemy that had become a friend. Wow, we've had a total 180. So they both go out to the forest hoping that they're going to see each other so that they can kill each other. And now they're like, I hope my dudes arrive so I can free him first. I'm going to pray for him in my head. That is a total flip. That means that clues us in that there's been a lot of action going on between man versus himself, and that has then changed the interactions between man versus man. Okay, presently, as the wind dropped for a moment, Ulrich broke the silence. Let us shout out for help, he said. In this lull, our voices may carry a little way. They won't carry far through the trees and the undergrowth, said Georg, but we can try. Together, then. The two raised their voices in a prolonged hunting call. Together again, said Ulrich a few minutes later, and after listening in vain for an answering hello, I heard nothing but the pestilential wind. The pestilential wind. That means, like, annoying, irritating, like a pest or a bug, said Georg hoarsely. There was silence again for some minutes, then Ulrich gave a joyful cry. I can see figures coming through the wood. They are following in the way I came down the hillside. Both men raised their voices in as loud a shout as they could muster. Hear us! They've stopped. Now they see us. They're running down the hill towards us, cried Ulrich. How many of them are there? Said Georg. I can't see distinctly, said Ulrich. 9 or 10. Then they are yours, said Georg. I only had 7 out with me. They are making all the speed they can, brave lads, said Ulrich gladly. Are they your men? Asked Georg. Are they your men? He repeated impatiently as Ulrich did not answer. No, said Ulrich with a laugh, the idiotic, chattering laugh of a man unstrung with hideous fear. Who are they? Asked Georg quickly, straining his eyes to see what the other would gladly not have seen. Wolves. So, what's going to happen to the truce and that friendship that the men have just created? They're going to honor it out of respect for their dead leaders. It will end because no one knew that it existed. The wolves will test their resolve, or they will sacrifice the truce to save themselves from the wolves. What do you think is the likely outcome? Let's break down what happens here. They both think that they're about to get rescued. Okay, so there's some irony in the end. They both think that the men are going to come and they're going to rescue them, and then they're going to be like best buddies, and there'll be hunting buddies, and they're just going to be best friends. Okay, now instead of the people who are rescuing, it's a pack of wolves. It is a pack of wild wolves in winter. What are these wolves gonna do? They are stuck and pinned beneath a tree. I think there's a saying that would go with this. It's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, this is... They're dead, folks. Like, nobody is ever gonna know. Oh, it's called karma. You're like, that's what you get. No one is ever going to know that they became buddies in the last minute because they're gonna die before any of the men find them. Sorry, this isn't a happy story. Did I tell you it was a happy story? So we've had some hints throughout the way. Now, when it comes to foreshadowing, this is where, if we do like a quick scan, we can see where Saki like sprinkled in little hints that this kind of stuff was going to happen. And it starts with the very title of the story, The Interlopers. I wonder if you could do a control search for interloper. Oh, that could be a good one. Okay. So if you do like a control F search, remember, an interloper is someone who becomes involved in a situation where they don't belong. That is being sprinkled throughout. So we have a backstory here where it talks about the forest lands going back and forth between these two families, that it is a long dispute. He is setting up the conflict here and how long it's been going on. He also has this line in here that talks about like 4-footed quarry, and that during the storm things were running like driven things tonight. There was movement and unrest amongst the creatures. So there's extra creepiness. Like, he is hinting right in the beginning that something bad is going to happen. Especially in these lines when they talk about interlopers. He's saying, we're going to fight to the death, and we won't have any dang interlopers to come between us. But the interlopers that do come between them are like the wolves. But let's think about that. Are the wolves actually the interlopers? These two dudes and their families have been fighting over this land. Many cultures they don't believe in land ownership because you can't control the animals that are on the land. You can't control what the land does. And that's been like a constant battle between, throughout history of human nature, of humans fighting nature and trying to control it. So this is very layered. So if you're feeling like, what? Maybe rewatch this in a minute. So what we have is we have interlopers, that the two gentlemen are interlopers in nature, and the wolves are like, oh, we got you. You keep going on our land. Now this is our time to get you. But so we have a different perspective between like what the wolves see and what the humans see as the interlopers. There's also some irony that's coming up here in the end. They think they're men, and then switch swap, we have situational irony. It's actually wolves. I love this line that he has the idiotic chattering of a laugh of a man unstrung with hideous fear. Oh, it's so good. Yes. So these are some things that we're hitting on, is that we have hints throughout the entire text that this is not going to end well. We have a bloody battle. We have a fight that says that they've been waiting for minutes to kill each other. Like they're waiting for the moment. They hoped that they could kill each other. And now, after they've put things in perspective, nature ends up killing them both. So it's a karma, if you will. It's a twist of fate. Oops. Okay. So let's look at the assignment now.